All right, so it's been just over a week since I pulled the white car out of the shed and started the process of pulling the motor out. And we're ready to give it its first start, and hopefully everything is ready to go and we have success. So tonight's the night. We give it the first crank and see how it goes. Everything should be ready. Got all the fluids in. I went with the 520 synthetic oil, the MT90 Redline transmission fluid. Of course, that's not full yet because the axles aren't in yet. All the coolant lines are ready to bleed the system. ECU's all plugged in. The modified harness from Doug at Wire Gap just plugged right in, so that was nice. I did temporarily connect the signal and tack wires. I haven't modified the tack yet, but hopefully that's all correct. And all of this stuff is in good working order, because we are about to find out. And I guess without further ado, let's connect the battery. Okay. Alrighty. Lord willing, it's all done right. Alright, so that fan comes right on. You can definitely hear the fuel pump. Got a couple gallons of gas in there. Alright. Alright, let it build up pressure a little. Started and idled. It seemed to be idling fine. I guess I need to button it all up and see what needs to be tweaked in and finally adjusted. So great success. Woohoo! Battery light is on and idling very high. And it doesn't come down. As a matter of fact, it seems to idle up as it's getting hotter. Seems like the alternator is gone. Starts right up, which is nice, but about on the third startup, the alternator went, and now it's drawing about 11.9 volts when started and about 12.3 when it's not started. The little additional fan that comes with the beams, that stays on all the time. It comes on. I don't know if it's supposed to. And then, of course, it just idles super high. I haven't done the fix to adjust the tack yet. All right, so this morning I'm taking the first step in chasing down the high idle on the beams, and so far so good. Here's what's happening. Took the throttle body off because what everyone reports is that the idle air control valve cylinder gets stuck, and so far what I'm finding is that it looks very stuck. So one little challenge is that these bolts right here have a 5-star kind of Torx tool, which I do not have. So I'm going to use my Dremel to make a little slit and take them off with a flathead. Oh yeah, completely seized. Okay, well that's good news, and I'm gonna work at breaking that free. All right, so I'm super encouraged with the progress I'm making so far. I was able to just clean it out with some regular solvent. With very little effort, it started breaking free. And so I just worked it back and forth with the parts cleaner, also with the toothbrush, and then cleaned it out with compressed air. And then I did spray it with white lithium grease until it was all kind of white in there. And maybe there's a better view here. And then I blew the excess lithium grease out with compressed air. So it's lubricated and kind of coated. So hopefully it won't corrode. And we're gonna put it back together. Let's see what happens here. Also, gonna reuse the gasket there because it's all I have. And clean this out again. So it's all a good starting point. Hopefully it'll work. Got a nice low idle. I think cleaning out the idle air control valve did the trick. Also, the new 90 amp alternator is keeping me at 14.2 volts. So I think we're good. And I appreciate all the help for everyone who chimed in on this project. All right, so I've been buttoning some things up after installing the beams, and just wanted to give a little visual reminder of some of the things I've done. Anything to give me more time in my sweet MR2 mechanics crawler chair, which is so comfy and so fun to use under the car. But yeah, this is it. All right, so all the suspension stuff is in and tightened down. I did pull the boots off. They're in fine shape. This is the worst part right here, is a little crack. I think I'm gonna fill that with some Shimizu grease or maybe some gasket maker, we'll see. But anyway, they're in good shape. But I pulled them off, cleaned out the CV joints completely, and then packed them with moly grease. So those should be good for a while. Of course, the transmission has new seals in there. Let's see, the other thing I wrestled with and learned about was the alternator. So the alternator with the Beams engine was an 80 amp. I kind of blew it, I think. It was putting out 11.2 volts when it was running, but the battery itself would have 12.3 or something when it was off. Anyway, I got a 90 amp alternator, which is the corresponding one with an oval plug corresponding to cars with power steering. However, as I was trying to install the 90 amp alternator is when I came to learn that alternator size and amperage has to correspond with the correct bracket size. So of course the 90 amp would not fit in the 80 amp bracket. So robbed the bracket from the other car, from the other motor, and put it in, and now it's great. And in fact, the alternator is now putting out 14.45 volts, and that's running great. So I'm happy about that. Exhaust is all in, new hardware where needed. AC lines are hooked up. Those were also robbed from the 91 car with the compressor from the 91 car too, which is actually a little bit newer, and it happens to be a R134, so that's convenient. And next will be brakes, which I'm transferring over from the yellow car. So the NA93 is going to end up with upgraded brakes from a 91 turbo, which really only gains 2-piston front, which this car would have had a 1-piston front brake. So that's the update. It's chilly this morning, but lots of MR2 stuff today. So here's what I'm working on. Mainly brakes. The brakes that are on the yellow car, which are 91 turbos, are gonna go on the Beams today, hopefully. Today's the day we try this thing out and give it its first drive on the road. But before that, I've had to install the brakes and bleed them and bleed the slave cylinder as well. So here's what we've done. These are 91 turbo brakes. Nothing different in the rear, I don't think. The front did get the 2-piston, so that's cool. And of course we have the Eibach Proline lowering springs. These brakes I rebuilt them earlier in this year in 2023. So they are freshly rebuilt, and the paint job that I did on them originally was caliper paint, and it was already flaking and rusting. So I kind of just taped things off and give it another coat with Grill High Heat Max paint, just to freshen them up. Hopefully gonna get some Toyota decals to go on there. And the rotors were new earlier in 2023 as well. So these brakes are really good to go and a nice little upgrade. Today has been a long one. There's something to show for it though. Gonna take the Beam Swap 93 for its first drive on the road, see how it does, and hopefully it's all buttoned up, and if not, I guess that's what we're gonna find out. But this is our maiden voyage. Here we go. Feels like we have brakes, so that's good. No lights. Does that brake light go off? Great. All right, let's see if this thing pulls itself forward. All right, we have some clutch feel. We have brakes. We have brakes. Woo! The beams is moving. Brakes work. Some noise, but it works. Fantastic. I'll take it out on the road here in a second. Well, success.